Chag Pesach Sameach, everybody. Mo'adim lesimcha. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where you guys from all around the world join me every Monday to Thursday to take a look at those top stories making the headlines in Israel. And we do it in conjunction with these guys, Lay of the Land. I also would like to take this opportunity to wish our many Christian viewers a very, very blessed Easter period. On Sunday, it was Palm Sunday, some beautiful scenes from around Israel as Christians in the country started to observe the Easter season. It also always coincides with Pesach, so it's again, it's just a reaffirmation of the incredible ties and shared heritage that we share in this holy land. Now, why wasn't I on air yesterday? Well, yesterday in the diaspora, it was the second day of Pesach or Passover, and out of respect to our many, many Jewish viewers, I took the decision not to do the Israel Brief. Lay of the Land also took the decision to move our weekly newsletter to today instead of yesterday, out of respect. But we're back enjoying our matzah and our kosher lePesach food in time to remind you that it is day 557 since the atrocities of the 7th of October in 2023. We still have 59 hostages that remain captive. Every single minute is excruciating, and we were so reminded of this pain as we observed our Pesach Seders on Saturday night. We were reminded that for so many families, they are missing their loved ones. And 24 out of those 59, we want to make sure that next Pesach, they are home safe. So with that said, a few reminders before I get into those headlines. A reminder, it is Tuesday, which means you've got 2 days to get the mensch and the moron of the week through to me. So if you want to submit your candidates, please do so via our social media or via our website. You send us your mensch, the person that you think deserves to be admired for the week, and the moron, pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, is Mr. Lammy going to make it another week onto the moron list? Only time and your nominations will tell. And don't forget that if you have a question that you would like answered on the Israel Brief, please also pop it in the comment section below or be in touch with us via our social media. So with that said, let's take a look at the top stories making the headlines here in Israel. And last week we brought you the story that over 1,000 current and past Air Force reservists had signed a letter calling on Prime Minister Netanyahu to do everything possible or to make the release of the hostages a priority, even if it meant cessation of the war. Now, last week the response was to likely dismiss those that signed the letter. The army chief saying that, in your private life, you can protest whatever you want, but not under the auspices of the military. Well, in the past couple of days, those signatories have been joined by teachers, doctors, ex-diplomats, Mossad veterans, cybersecurity veterans, intelligence veterans, members of the medical corps, doctors, authors, and many, many units, including naval commanders, calling on the Prime Minister to make sure that the hostages, the remaining 59 hostages, are released. The intelligence corps went as far as to refer to the Prime Minister as a potential threat to the safety of our hostages. So as you can see, a lot, and these letters are also coming from Army reservists saying, it is crunch time. We need our hostages home now, even if it means abandoning one of the war goals, which is the continuation of this war until Hamas is removed. Meanwhile, at the moment, there is a proposed deal. This has been put forward by Israel to the Egyptian mediators with the aid of the United States. Hamas are currently reviewing the contents of this deal and say that they will let us know, or at least let mediators know within 48 hours. Now, Hamas want full cessation of the war, and as I just said, it is not one of Israel's stated war goals. Israel will not agree to Hamas on our borders, and Hamas refused to disarm, which is one of the crucial criteria coming from Israel's side. Meanwhile, the proposal proposes the release of 10 hostages in exchange for a temporary ceasefire and for the renewal of aid. So let's watch this one very, very closely. Meanwhile, over the weekend, Hamas released another psychological warfare video, this time of hostage Idan Alexander. He is the last remaining American hostage that is still alive. He is believed to be 21 years of age. Horrific footage that was given the permission of his parents to be shown. You can see the shadows under his eyes, how pale and drawn and thin he is. Him saying, "Why am I still here?" Absolutely shattering. We want all 59 of our hostages back now. Turning more to the north, Hezbollah has reportedly conducted a large-scale withdrawal from some of its positions in southern Lebanon. At least 190 of the 265 Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon are now under the control of the Lebanese army. This is a significant step towards obeying the current ceasefire conditions and UN Resolution 1701, which calls for Hezbollah to withdraw north of the Litani River and also to disarm. Meanwhile, Israel says that it is a step towards the ceasefire agreement. However, there are still Hezbollah fighters that are violating the agreement. And on Sunday, the first day of Pesach, after 2 weeks of quiet, the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen fired ballistic missiles towards the center of Israel, where I am, sending millions of us running into our shelters. The missile was intercepted by the IDF's air defense array. Now, why do I bring this up 2 days later? Well, because the whole world watches when it is Ramadan or when it is any other kind of religious holiday to see that there is no uptick in violence. However, on one of our holy festivals, Pesach, Passover, the Festival of Freedom, it seems to be pretty okay for Israeli civilians to be targeted by genocidal maniacs living in Yemen that doesn't even share a border with Israel. So the hypocrisy is absolutely astounding. And finally, today marks 80 years since the 11th Armoured Division of the British Army entered the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp and liberated it. When the army forces came in, they couldn't believe the condition of the walking skeletons, saying that they had entered the gates of hell. An estimated 35,000, majority Jewish, had been worked to death or starved to death at Bergen-Belsen, including a very, very famous young lady, Anna Frank, and her sister Margot. During the Holocaust, the Jews were hunted for extermination, but other groups that the Nazis deemed unworthy or subhuman or undesirable rather, like the Roma and Sinti, members of the LGBTQ plus communities and political dissenters, were also put into concentration camps, but the specific extermination of a group of people was targeted towards the Jews. It is estimated that when the British forces came in, they found about 55,000 still barely alive. In the weeks to come, between 13 and 15,000 died as a result of malnourishment. And I really urge you to Google the sound clip of Richard Dimbleby. He was a BBC reporter at the time who reported his eyewitness findings as he entered along with the armoured forces of the British Army and saw with his own eyes what man can do to man, the absolute hell on earth. Next week, Israel will mark Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura, Israel's Holocaust Memorial and Martyrs Memorial Day. And of course, we will be bringing you all the observations from that day. But as time marches on and we lose our survivors because of the passage of time, I really encourage you all to learn about what happened during the Holocaust, listen to the eyewitness testimonies, and on a day like today, learn about what happened at Bergen-Belsen. Let's not let this, the most horrific genocide in the history of man, become forgotten. So those are our top stories for today. Let's take a look at the audience question, and it comes from Monica in London, who says, Roline, French President Emmanuel Macron said he will recognize a Palestinian state in June. What is Israel's reaction? Well, as you can imagine, Israel's reaction is not favorable. Israel very much views these kinds of tacit recognitions as being counteractive to peace, because it, first of all, negates the need for the two parties that this all affects, Palestinians and Israelis, to negotiate our future ourselves. What is also not said is, where do we sit on final agreements, on borders, on capital cities, on a whole variety of issues, on issues that are a matter of Israel's security. What happens with the Gaza Strip? How do we make this contiguous? There are a whole host of questions that don't go answered with these magnanimous tacit recognitions. And also, very importantly, Israel sees these recognitions as rewarding terrorism, that this is some kind of reward or an award for Palestinians following the grossest atrocity committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, and the worst day in the history of the State of Israel. So I hope that answers your question, Monica, and a reminder to you all, if you have a question, please don't forget to pop it in the comments section below. So that brings us to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Guys, don't forget, you can check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page is at Lottel's site. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Remember, if you like us, please hit that red subscribe button. Let's grow our community. We are on X at layoftheland5, on Instagram at Roline_Marks, and on LinkedIn at Roline Marks. So guys, God bless you all. Chag Sameach, a very, very blessed Easter, and I will catch you again tomorrow.